So excited for each and every last one of you. We are graciously excited that you are all here joining us on this morning. So wow, good morning to all of you. We are excited, we are on, we are happy. It is another day. Man, we are grateful. The smiles is here and the Spirit of the Lord is so blessing us. If you've been following us, my name is Dr. Lakita. I got a charge from the Lord to do a 30-day campaign to revive the mind. I speak life, and everything about us is about Proverbs 18 and 19, and we are, Proverbs 18 and 21, where we're looking at the power of life and death. It's in our tongue. And Father God, we are so grateful that you've given us the ability to speak life rather than death. So today, we've got a wonderful, powerful guest speaker all the way from Dallas, Texas. He is going to be our pastor on today, but I call him very frequently to get some pastoral advisement for my heart and my soul as I tread along in this pathway called ministry and life. And his name is Pastor Eddie Pratt. He is dynamic, graduate of Howard University. So many dynamic. What is it? Morehouse. That's right. Yeah, he said he don't want to give Howard his kudos. He want to give it to Morehouse. No, that's that Morehouse brother. That Morehouse brother. So we are so excited for him being with us. And now he's given us a treat to take a quick little look at some things concerning where we're going on today. And I know many of you guys are trying to get on, but let me tell you, we said we starting at that time, and let me tell you, we have been doing just that. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Let me just say this before I get to moving and all of that good little stuff, and we're just excited. That's all I can say. We just excited and happy that the Lord has blessed us all. So here we go. This is the video that we're getting ready to watch. Sit back, sit tight, and let's rock and roll.
Good morning, this is Pastor Eddie Pratt. Just have a question for you. Do you have someplace close to home that is a place of peace for you? A place where you go, where you can reboot, where you can think, where you can revive your mind. Just some place that you can go to. Step away from your normal routine that gives you new thoughts, new process. You shut down from the trauma or the challenges that you're dealing with, and even the victories. Just some place where you can go. It gives you a place to regroup, set your mind to the next level. Transition from where you are to where you're going. This is one of my favorite places. This is in Dallas, Texas. And you would never expect that this location is actually right in the heart of the town, right in the heart of the city. But this is one of the first places where I went when I moved here, where I wrote many sermons, where I processed many challenges that I went through, where I brought my kids to talk to them about important things, life decisions and life lessons. And it is still a place that I come to. So self-care is the thing that I am speaking about. In order to revive your mind, self-care.
All right, let's go back. It is saying that the video is not playing. Let's try this again. And because it's playing on my end. Okay, I'm so glad you guys made mention of that. Let's try this again. Thank you guys so much for letting me know it was playing on my end. Let's try this again. Let's see.
Good morning. This is Pastor Eddie Pratt.
Let me
Just
know
have
if
a
it's
question
playing
for you.
again.
It's still not playing. You may have to pull it up first and then share your screen.
Okay, hold on one second, you guys. Thank you guys for being so patient because it's so powerful. This is really the essence of the whole thing. So give me 1 second. I just did it. Yeah, let's see. Hold on. Let's try it again. Good morning to all of you. Give me one moment.
Good morning.
All right, let's see. We'll try this again and see. If you guys are joining us, we are with our guest on today. I'm so glad that each and every last one of you is here. Not sure. Let me try one more thing here. And let's see if we can't get it started. I'm going to try a different app really quick. So for those of you who are joining, we're going to be
Good
meeting
morning.
with,
This is
all right, so let me see if it would allow me to do it like this, in this format. Okay. All right. I'm up for the challenge. All right, let's rock and roll. Listen, if you don't have no challenges, well, who knows if you're about anything? I'm about something. All right. Let's try it again.
Pastor Eddie Pratt. Just have a question for you. Do you have someplace close to home that is a place of peace for you? A place where you go, where you can reboot, where you can think, where you can revive your mind. Just some place that you can go to, step away from your normal routine that gives you new thoughts, new process. And you shut down from the trauma or the challenges that you're dealing with, and even the victories. Just some place where you can go. It gives you a place to regroup, set your mind to the next level. To transition from where you are to where you're going. This is one of my favorite places. This is in Dallas, Texas. And you would never expect that this location is actually right in the heart of the town, right in the heart of the city. But this is one of the first places where I went when I moved here, where I wrote many sermons, where I processed many challenges that I went through, where I brought my kids to talk to them about important things, life decisions and life lessons. And it is still a place that I come to. So self-care is the thing that I am speaking about. In order to revive your mind, self-care should not just be something that you do periodically. It needs to become a lifestyle.
All right, we are super excited on today for our Revive the Mind, I Speak Life. And man, we are going to dive into this self-care 2.0. and none other than Pastor Eddie Pratt, all the way from Dallas, Texas. So let's go ahead and add him on in the discussion. Thank you so much, my brother and my friend, for joining us on this wonderful, beautiful day. We are excited to be here, and I loved how you put the whole spin on us feeling. I love the waterfall. I just was like, whoa. I was like, oh, it was too short. I needed like 6 minutes of it so we could just dive into it. But I just loved it. Why don't you do this? Let's talk to the people for a moment. One of the things I absolutely love about what you do is how you do it. And one of the things that we connect on is the mental health side of things, along with the spiritual health of the church. We're both concerned about the spiritual health of the church. And particularly, you have an interest of mind that I absolutely love, and you do some things around divorce care and things of that nature. So talk to us a little bit about that, because if you are going through a divorce or having to divorce yourself from a job or a relationship or a friendship, reviving the mind is critical. So talk to us a little bit about that, sort of that ministry of divorce care and the counseling that you do with it.
Okay, so I know that the process, let me start this way. Trauma is immediate. Healing.
Oh, wait, come on. You can't just bust a move and just do a whole, come on, say it again. Trauma is what?
Trauma is immediate.
Oh, I
Healing
love
is healing is a process. And even in the midst of a healing process, there is transition to move from the trauma of whatever that separation is to the transition. It's a movement towards a process of healing. So it's a shift, it's a pivot. And so being someone that has experienced divorce, I lost both of my parents, and I actually did both of my parents' eulogies. I knew that my mother was going to pass, which was about 4 years ago. But when my father died on a cruise 2 days before Christmas. We had a really good talk about forgiveness. He was apologizing to me for not giving me some of the best relationship advice. He gave me great life advice, but not relationship advice. And actually 13 years before that, he tried to have that same conversation with me, and I stiff-armed him. But when we were sitting in this little hole in the wall restaurant 13 years later, I forgave him because I was going through a spiritual transition of awakening and seeing that I had to literally revive my mind just to have that conversation with him, because the first time we had it, I was in a place of anger and unforgiveness and that kind of thing. We sat down, talked for 2.5, 3 hours. We put everything out on the table, and 20 days later, he died on that cruise. Now, I was also going through a divorce at the time that he and I were going through this process of, as I said, the healing. And keep in mind what I said with the time element. I stayed in a place of unforgiveness with him for 13 years before I had that conversation with him. So, but claiming to be a Christian.
Come on here, talk all plain.
All right. So I had to revive my mind, to rededicate my mind and my soul and my body and everything else to Christ in the way that it was supposed to be done, not the way I was choosing to put boundaries between him, boundaries between relationships, walls between those things. I had not surrendered. And so the process that I take people through in my counseling business is that I help people find 4 things that I think are critical for learning and literally reviving your mind. The 4 things are these. I take them through a process of knowing who you are, who you're not, what your foundational principles are, and what your purpose is. And when you get to a place in the assessments that I do with people in my counseling sessions, and this is couples as well as individuals, I feel like in a couple, each individual needs to know those 4 things, and collectively they need to know who we are, who we're not.
They're asking for the Pastor Pratt, go back, know who you are, know who you're not, Understand your foundational principles. What was the fourth one?
What your purpose is.
What is your purpose? Got it.
So when you are clearly in touch with those four things, now you have a better chance at peace, a better chance of transitioning from trauma. And let me back up and say this. When you know those four things, you shouldn't let any person, any substance, or anything disrupt those four things. They will automatically interrupt, disrupt, divide you from your peace. Now, I'll repeat it again. Not any person, not anything, not any substance should disrupt those four things. If you are in touch with who you are, who you're not, what your foundational principles are, and what your purpose is, and you consistently keep that in mind. So let me walk you through how I deal with this in counseling. In divorce care, it is a very, very traumatic situation, and people go through being cheated on, being betrayed, abuse, all of those things. And many of my clients are victims of domestic violence, or they could be someone, like I said, of the aforementioned, or just they grew apart, whatever the reason is. Then there's this, you literally lose your identity after these things. Any type of trauma shakes your identity. You just lose yourself. And so I help people find, not so much get back to who they were, because now they're living with this new experience. Now we have to get to a new normal. Too often you hear people saying, I want to get back to normal. No, we have to get to a new normal, because we need to know how to live and survive after experiencing this particular trauma, this particular heartbreak, that type of thing. And so it's very important to, and that process of reviving your mind gets you to the new normal, because there are a lot of people walking, like I was, living in a cycle of dysfunction.
So let me ask you a question. So here we are, you got the cycle of dysfunction. Many people don't believe they have it, even those that are believers, and they come to this space and place where you find, and let me say it like this, you got the cycle of dysfunction, and now you're coming to this awakening that it's not working for you. Mm-hmm. It is totally not working for you. And so one of the things that I want to ask you is, how does a believer like you came to understand it is not working for me? Mm-hmm. But what do you say to the believer who is not aware that it is not working for them to be in this cycle of dysfunction?
Okay, so here's the most difficult part about that. And it's going to sound simple, but it is simple, but it isn't simple. And let me explain that. Personal assessment is very important to understanding where you actually are. And I think that we have to often, and I can tell you exactly how I take people through this process. When I have them to create a things to accomplish list that they have to do every day for a certain period of time. I may give them 30 days, I may give them 2 weeks or something like that. Before they even do that with me, the challenge is look at I always tell people to take an eagle's view, go up to an eagle's view, like you're looking down on your life, not just judging and assessing other people, but to assess yourself in the movie, assess yourself in the skit. And if you see the same pattern happening over and over and over, and that pattern happened over and over and over in the other church, in the other job, in the other relationship, now the common denominator is you. Now that's very direct, and which is the way that I counsel, because I believe that we have to get to the truth to get healing. But the problem is, a person that's living in a cycle of dysfunction is hanging around or sticking around something that gives validation to that.
Wait, stop. Yes, say that again. The person, say it again.
The person that does not see themselves in a cycle of dysfunction is often hanging around, spending time around people or things that validate that dysfunction. So in other words, here's what happens. They may be saying things to themselves like, I need to do this, I need to do that. And this is why I posed the question when we talked about this earlier. You hear a lot of people say, when you know better, you do better. That's not always the case. You can know better, but not do better. And my process that I take people through is that gap between knowing better and doing better. So in that gap, there's a process of, I do a personal assessment with people. If they're individuals, I do personal assessments with them, and I break the process up into 3 categories. There's personal piece, professional piece, relationship piece. And so in those things, I find the dysfunction and expose it. If they can hear themselves talking about the dysfunction, it's very hard to do this on your own. And we as a culture have got to stop saying that counseling is a sign of weakness. It is the most mature, it is the most manly thing that I ever did, was sit down with a counselor after my father died, after I went through divorce. I sat with this guy for almost over 2.5 years. And the only time the appointments were canceled is because he had something to do. I committed to it. Because, you know, God will call you out. There's a question that he asks at the pool of Bethesda. I love this. It's in John chapter 5. I believe it's 1 through 8, somewhere in there. I don't know if it's verse 6 or verse 5. He asked the man that's been in this same condition for 38 years, do you really want to get well? Do you want to get well? See, if you hear yourself, this is why, let me say this. This is why I hear people make New Year's resolutions, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
But I think what we should really commit to is a new life's resolution. And if you know you need to get started with something in September of 2022, don't wait until January 1st to make that. You should be in gear by January 1st. You should be in a process of doing something different, because the clock changing will not change the mindset. It's just time. Because the first challenge that comes up in 2023, you'll just go right back to the same pattern. It's a cliche, it's a something, but if it's not a commitment, I heard George Zaluki, a guy, say that the definition of commitment is continuing to do the thing you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has passed.
I love that. Long after the mood.
After the mood.
Right, because you be all excited.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. And then the mood is gone.
It's gone.
It's your commitment. Right.
Yeah.
So listen. So for those of you who just joining, we have Pastor Eddie Pratt all the way from Dallas, Texas. And what he's bringing to the table as it pertains to Revive the Mind, I Speak Life, he sort of opened it up with that trauma is immediate, but healing is a process.
Yes.
And he showed us that healing is going to take place when we take an inventory, or he used the terminology assessments. And he gave us an ideology or methodology about how that assessment was going to work. And he gave us the 4 questions that we should know about, and those things of that nature. And those things are knowing who you are, knowing who you are not, what are your foundational principles, and what's your purpose. And one of the things I love is that he just finished giving us how he breaks down, when he's in a counseling session with folks, when they've gone through a variety of different things, he breaks it down from 3 perspectives, looking at their personal piece, professional piece, and the relationship piece. Here's the question that I want to bring and pose to Pastor Pratt. When we're looking at reviving of the mind, I speak life, what's the deterrent or the thing that causes many people not to speak life? Why is 41 million people anxiety filled with a diagnosis, another 40 million plus depression? So we've got 80 million with 2 of the major disorders in the world. Why do we need to speak this life? Why? And what what does Christ have to do with this life speaking business?
Sure. Okay. So when we are stuck in the not being able to speak life, it's because we are taking our cues from things from the world, the internet, TV, circumstances, all of those things can be tools that are positive, but it depends on the filter that we have in our minds and in our hearts. What part are we taking in, and what part are we retaining that's not good for us? And so if you're listening or taking your relationship cues from people that are not connected to the Bible, if you are, or the Word of God itself, I think that what transitions us is taking our cues from what does the Word say, not with what do I agree with that the Word says, or what do I disagree, because the Word is constant. Now, I'm not saying that we should not, and I completely believe that there has to be a partnership between being honest with yourself, being committed to what God says, which means, and then the third thing, connecting to people that live a life in the best way that they possibly can, that believe what God says. There is a process where you have to assess yourself and say, I'm in a bad place. You can't keep doing the same thing that you've been doing with the expectation of having a different outcome, staying around the same people, or expecting. We often get caught up in the title of people. This person should be pouring into me. If that person is not pouring into you, you have to accept the fact that God has someone else that may be unrelated, a different culture, from a different style of life, that will speak life into you. I'm a living example of that. The people that were pouring into me, I had never laid eyes on them. I had many people do things for me and my kids before, when we were just in a challenging situation with work and everything like that, that I didn't know. And I had to begin. I love this. If, matter of fact, here's what I would say. As it relates to Jesus Christ, I believe it's Matthew 7:24, when he talks about, and I'm paraphrasing, when he talks about how the foundation, when you hear my commands, put them into practice. A wise man is like, when you hear my commands and put them into practice, it's like a wise man that builds his house on a rock. If the storm comes, if the rain comes, the house will stand because it has a firm foundation. So therefore, we hear the word, but we have to put it into practice. I don't care which translation you read. There's nothing in there that says, well, I need to pray about it. I need to go find 15 other people to find out if they agree with what the word says. It says, hear my commands, put it into practice. And that process gets you to a place of healing. You may not feel like doing it. So here's one thing that I'm writing about in my writings. You'll hear this in my book coming up soon. You have to act your way into a feeling and stop feeling your way into actions. That is why the 41 and 40 million people, because we're trying to let our emotions lead us into what we should be doing, versus our actions should be in front of our actions should be in front of our thoughts.
So wow, where did the time go? So we got like a few moments, and this is what I want you to say, because that just really hit home. I think you said, hear my commands, and this is what I'm going to do for my takeaway today. Hear my commands and put it into practice.
That's correct.
That is the business of where I'm at. I'm reading a book called Action Has No Season by an African-American billionaire named Michael Roberts. You don't have the book, get the book. Action Has No Season. And from the beginning of the book, he lays out why many people are not wealthy, healthy, and mentally stable. And primarily it's because of the statement you just said. They are not listening to wisdom, and they're not putting into practice what they've listened to.
Yes.
If you hear wisdom, put it into practice. We've got a minute or two or so left. And what I want you to share is why, just speak to, hear the commands and put it into practice. And I want you to speak to, as if there's millions of people watching us today, about why people need to put into action today what is necessary today. Go for it.
Okay, just real quick. Your feelings will never lead you to your destiny. They'll lead you to a dream. Your actions will lead you to your purpose, and your feelings will catch up. So you have to begin to speak life about what you are not doing that you know you need to do. Even though you don't feel like doing, even though there's something that's pressing you down, speak life to yourself. I can do it. And the other thing about it, get around people that will also speak life, that they will speak life when you can't speak life on yourself. Get around people that will say, you can do it. I want to support you. I'll help you do it. And that will bring your feelings. They'll catch up later on, but your actions need to be driving the car.
Listen, if you've been listening to us, and that for me is huge. I'm holding to that. Hear the commands, do the action. I had got the command August the 22nd to do this revival. I told some friends about it that I didn't want to do it because I felt like I needed more time. And it's been a very interesting year for me in a way that I'm accustomed to always got something going. I mean, I've got 150 projects in 1 year. That's just my style. That's the way I like to do it. And this year didn't have that kind of ream. But one of the things I've learned, obey God, do the action. And people everywhere have been saying it has healed their minds, healed their spirit, healed their soul. The speakers have blessed my spirit, my life, created a revival deposit in me. And you are reminding us, Pastor Pratt, hear the commands and do the action. Take action, not feelings. Put feelings on the back burner and tell action to pave the way. Man, I'm just so elated. Is there any last scripture or verse that you have before we are out of here?
If we could, and I think that this was the last one, if we could real quick, James chapter 1, verse 2 is really, really something that is incredible. It says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Verse 3 says, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, here is the key, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. But look at verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. So with this, putting the action first and the feelings later, the trial is coming. It lets you know that you will encounter trials as a Christian. But if we gain the right perspective, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Why is this going on? Why is this happening? If we speak life, God, I know that you are in control. God, I know you have this under control. While I'm trying to figure it out, you've already worked it out. So what the question needs to be pivoted to, what am I supposed to learn as a result of you allowing this trial in my life? What is the lesson? Because God gives the test first and gives a lesson second. It's the opposite of school.
Listen, if you guys have been joining us, I really, really pray that you have been able to just chime in. Our guest today was none other than Pastor Eddie Pratt, all the way from Dallas, Texas. He is just so many magnificent things, counselor, teacher, all those things, and one of the personal therapists that I kind of go to quite frequently, because y'all be putting it on 500. But tell somebody, share this with somebody, take action over feeling, take action over everything else, and we'll see the blessings of the Lord. It has been my honor and pleasure to be with you guys until tomorrow. Tell them to be present. We are out of here. Blessings to you guys. Take action over your feelings and have a great rest of your day.